Hi, Calvin. Good afternoon. My name is Staci Hartwell, and I am the strategic advisor for the South County Environmental Justice Coalition. We're domiciled in Southern Maryland, but we represent the interests really for all Marylanders.
Yeah. And can you give me a brief overview of the environmental justice issues we're working on in PG County, and why did you get involved in these issues?
Well, let me share with you that Prince George's County, I've always said to people, they're dying a death of 1,000 cuts. They're suffering from what we call cumulative impacts, where there's not just one thing really that's really at the core of the degradation of our community, but several things. For example, we recently experienced a jet fuel spill, the largest in the history of the country, at Andrews Air Force Base. Over 32,000 gallons of jet fuel have leached into the Piscataway River. As you well know, was on national news. We had a massive, the largest in history, sewage breach for the district for the DMV area, and then we had another one that they didn't talk about so much, but there were two sewage breaches in this area. Prince George's County has long suffered from PFAS contamination, also coming from Andrews Air Force Base. We have issues now with air traffic patterns that have been rerouted over communities on this side of the river. We suffer from 60 Superfund sites, and we get a consistent failing grade from the American Lung Association. Those are just some examples. But the issues that really that bubble up to the top for Prince George's County are transportation equity, data centers, and food equity.
What was the moment you realized you had to do something, and what was kind of the inspiration between you deciding to take action?
Well, I'll tell you, I was inspired long ago, long before these issues bubbled up to the surface. I was the state chair for the NAACP, Maryland State Conference Environmental and Climate Justice Committee. So really, I had a bird's eye view of issues that were impacting the entire state. What came up and what we researched and validated were that there were hot spots in the state. And those hot spots tend to be where a majority Black and brown people to live. Prince George's County, Baltimore City, and over the bridge in Wicomico County. So that was my first like inkling that something was going on. But once I stepped down from the position as the state chair for the Environmental and Climate Justice Committee, I started to work primarily in Prince George's County. So that's when I sort of knew what some of the issues were, but I didn't know about these specific issues. So the transportation issue came up around the proposal that the Virginia Department of Transportation was putting forward to expand toll roads into Maryland. And that was like, yeah, I mean, I used to travel on the road a lot as a sales manager, so I knew what the toll roads were like in Virginia, and I knew that these would not be a good thing for the people of Prince George's County. All of these things are intertwined. I tell people, you have to understand how the knee bone is connected to the thigh bone because it's not just the expansion of toll roads, but it's the why, it's the implications. What does this mean if we have these toll roads? Well, not only are there issues around equity about who can afford to pay the tolls and to use the toll roads, but also what are the health impacts? And that's a huge focus of the South County Environmental Justice Coalition is helping people understand the health impacts of having toll roads. Because you know what? If you have cars, if you create a bottleneck and then cars are idling, that's going to be more CO2 emissions. And that's why I put the picture in the report that you have of the table with the PM 2.5 that's caked on there. It's like tar. And that comes from not being so far from the highway. And if you know anything about where the 495 South expansion was going to happen, which was over the Woodrow Wilson Bridge, you would know that that would create a bottleneck, and it's right where the convergence of Route 210 happens. Now, you would have to know, again, talking about how the knee bone is connected to the thigh bone, you would have to know that Route 210 is known as the highway of death. So not only now do you have cars idling and you have increased traffic that's backed up, what's going to incent people more to start, driving quickly to avoid, the traffic? And it's just going to make problems worse. It's going to compound the problems related to that highway. So that was the first thing. I mean, we knew that right away. In addition, there was also many years ago talk about bringing the blue line over the Woodrow Wilson Bridge. So we said, well, instead of doing this toll, why don't you give us what you promised us with the blue line? And what's interesting is that while the blue line was initially proposed for this area, they took that money and they gave it to the north by way of the purple line. So what we found out was that that there are some real equity issues here, because not only have they now taken the blue line and given those funds for the purple line, but you know what? In addition to that, in the north they have over 20 metro stops that extend beyond 495. 20. And guess how many we have in the south? That's like Route 50 and below.
How
We
many?
have one. So, I mean, it further highlights, the disparity between what's happening in the north, where it is predominantly white, where the residents are predominantly white, versus what's happening in the south, where the residents are predominantly black and brown. So that was really the whole thing around the transportation equity issue. And what our ask is now is that people focus on getting Metro Rail over the highway. It will be a salve that soothes a lot of issues around transportation for the area. The next thing we talked about were data centers. Now, everyone knows around the globe that the largest hub of data centers exists in Virginia. We all know that. But what was missing was really the data around what was happening with those data centers. So now, as the information is starting to become, people are becoming aware of that information around the impacts of data centers, we're beginning to realize that data centers are not the right solution for Prince George's County. First of all, the whole geographic makeup and demographics of Prince George's County compared to Virginia, they're different. They have more land, less people. We have less land, more people. So it just doesn't make sense to take and put such a polluting facility where we have more dense population. And there's nothing, no one has come back and talked about how a hyperscale data center does not impact a person's health and well-being. I mean, you've got the diesel emissions from the backup generators. There's the light pollution. There's the vibration. There's the noise pollution. There's the consumption of the water. And what everyone is talking about now is the use of electricity. So you got the electric issues and the water issues. We are already operating under a drought watch. So what makes anyone think that adding a data center that uses more water than what the entire county does in a matter of days, what makes them think that this would improve the drought situation? And let me tell you, let's bring that home. Some people in Prince George's County, they have to manage their well water. They live off of well water, and they have to drill. That's an expense that they incur. They have to drill to get well water. So what makes us think that they will not have to go ahead and endure the expense of having to drill down further to access the aquifer rather, to get more water? So, I mean, these are obvious things. And what is astounding to me is that with the groundswell of opposition that's come from the residents, that our electeds and our appointeds ignore the voice of the people, where they could think that this could be a good thing after all the evidence shows that it is not a good thing, not only for the money that they're proposing to send to people, but for the long-term impacts of it. I mean, it impacts your property values, your health, just everything. So what makes our elected officials think that this would be good for them? Well, it would be good for the people, especially when we've had over 20,000 people sign a petition that one of our residents came up with. And then, or we had meetings where there were over 400 people who showed up in opposition. I've been in this space now in Prince George's County since 2018, and I've been doing this work since 2014. I've not seen a greater protest in one county since. And it astounds me about how our electeds and our appointeds could turn a deaf ear to the people. So this is a critical time for us because, as you know, elections are coming up, and I am glad that our voice in elevating this has made it a platform issue. Data centers are a platform issue, and that for us is a good thing.
Was there ever a time when you didn't know if you could keep going?
Oh, never a time. Oh, you know what? Well, that speaks to my own personal ethic. I don't think anyone will be interested in that. But you know how some people golf or knit for fun?
Mhm.
I do environmental justice for fun. I do. It's like that. This is my pitch of catnip. You know what I mean? Like this is what I love doing this. First of all, I don't like bullies. I don't like when people pick on people. And I find some of the behaviors of the people that we've appointed or elected to support us, they're really bullies. They're trying to force things on us that are against our will. And I don't believe that we should stand idly by and let people force down our throats things that we know are not good for us, or even things that we feel aren't good for us. That is not why they were put in place. They were there to execute the will of the people, not to judge for us, not to think for us, but to do what it is that we want. So yeah, I will never back down from a good fight. I can throw a punch and I can take a punch. So I'm really like battle tested. And I like I said, I like doing it. I just enjoy it. Like I said, some people golf. I or knit. I do a little knitting, but I'm just saying I enjoy this work. And so I, you know, and they say um if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. And the thing about it is that I do this as a volunteer. This is not I'm not paid to do this. I do this because I enjoy doing it.
What ultimately ended up happening with both kind of the transportation issue and the data center issue? And are you satisfied with the results, or is there still more left to do?
Oh, there's so much more left to do. But what happened was, okay, first of all, regarding the transportation issue, VDOT, they decided not to move forward at this point. But we've got to keep a watchful eye on them. We never know if it'll come back in some other form. What form it needs to come back in as is for doing a study around bringing Metro over that Wilson Bridge. The Wilson Bridge was built for that. And that's what they need to do. So that's where we are really with that for now, but we must remain ever vigilant and keep an eye on these people because you just never know when it'll creep up. And it is astounding to me that our electeds and our appointeds keep this from us. They don't tell us this. We have to find out. We have to hear about it. So that's another issue too. Something else that we're going to be working on is notifying residents about whenever these projects are being put forward because they don't do a good job of it, and it's almost like it's intentional that they don't want us to know about it. So we've got to work on that and to help shift their thinking so that they realize that this is a good thing when you include the voice of the people. You don't want to shield things from people because that's what creates the distrust, etc., that exists in the system. So um that's really where we were on the transportation thing. The data center thing, well, we got a moratorium, but that doesn't give anyone any comfort. It's cold comfort, a moratorium, because it says that, as soon as the election is over, depending upon how it comes out, people will then have the longevity in place to exercise their will again against the people to move forward, whether we want it or not. So our electeds have very cleverly, and it's not so clever because we can see right through it. They're not being transparent. They have postponed them, put this moratorium on to the end of this month, which is June. And we'll see what happens after these little midterms happen, what the midterms happen. In Prince George's County, 494 square miles, 1 million residents. We have got one Whole Foods. Across the bridge in Alexandria, Virginia, they have they're 14 square miles. They have 3 Whole Foods. And I think that really sums up the issue around food equity. How do we encourage businesses to want to come to Prince George's County so that we have outlets to buy quality, non-GMO food for residents?
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your time, Stacy, and thank you so much for sharing your story.
Thank you.